Ah, the holidays. A time for giving, a time for getting, and a time for going and going.
And going, and going, and going, and going.
When you need a break, we're here, helping you make sense of all the good and the going of the holidays. Happy holidays from all of us at ubnradio.com.
Welcome to the National Safe Child Show, addressing the health, safety, and welfare of all children nationwide. Because it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Here is your host, Tammy Stefano.
Hi folks, welcome. It's a wonderful evening. The rain has finally stopped in Southern California. Yay. Tonight is going to be such a tremendous show. We are so ramped up right now. You have no idea. We've had an opportunity to chat with my wonderful guest who's like coming out and just, he's ready to, I don't want to say fight, but can I say fight?
Fight's a good fair word.
Yeah, fight. And feel free to move this. I want your voice nice and clear. I want them to hear. I don't care if you do it. I don't care. Yeah. Attorney Kyle Puro. He is Los Angeles. I want you to tell about yourself, and then we're going to get into it. I'm going to get us on.
So right now I work for the Los Angeles Dependency Lawyers. We're a nonprofit funded by the state, actually underfunded by the state. And we represent all the indigent clients in Los Angeles County. We also represent celebrities. We represent everybody from every race and creed. I've been there about 3.5 years.
Yeah,
so
and
we're on the front lines.
Yeah, he's passionate, folks. He's here tonight because he is passionate, and he has a lot to say, and he has been doing his homework, and he is fighting for parents, okay? He's not county council, just to be clear, so he's not fighting for the department. Actually, he is soon to be, he is in line to be an expert deposer of social workers. No, I don't know. Anyway, zip that
I also represent a few children too, so I have like a different perspective of everything. But what I wanted to get into first was what exactly is the department?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
I'm gonna get us on. Go ahead.
And the way that I like to start this off is we're just going to talk about sex for a minute, so everybody just calm down.
Okay, wow.
Marcus Aurelius said when it comes down to sex, it's just really two membranes rubbing against each other and a mucus comes out. So it's nothing big. Don't worry about it. So we're going to take all the emotion out of children here for a moment. We're not talking about little Johnny getting hit. We're not talking about any of that right now.
Okay.
We're just talking about numbers. So we can understand.
I love it.
We can understand the origin and components of the Department of Children and Family Services, so then we can know how to win, because that is my job, is to put families back together.
Yeah.
Not break them apart.
Not break them apart, folks.
So the department has an annual budget each year of $1.8 billion. Okay?
This is Los Angeles County, correct?
This is Los Angeles County. This is according to the DCFS annual report of Philip Browning that I watched on YouTube about a year ago, so I haven't rerun the numbers.
This was out of Mr. Browning's mouth?
Yes, look it up on YouTube.
Okay, so, folks, for the record, and I'm just going to state this, I don't buy that number, okay? If it's being cited, then I would say let's do a little more homework because the number is more. Okay, go ahead.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
There's 35,000 children in foster care, in Los Angeles foster care right now.
In Los Angeles County?
Not all those children are in group homes or foster homes, but just in the system.
Right.
So
regardless of how that might be a kinship situation, but in other words, the state is involved in some manner, and these children are dependent of the state of California in some respect.
Yes.
Okay.
There's 35,000 of them, and the money comes in from the state and the federal government like clockwork. So it's just an on-touch vein of money that comes from the federal and the state government for these people. So DCFS has a lot of money, and my colleague Melinda Murphy was on here a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
I watched her, and she was talking about...
I love Melinda.
Hi,
Melinda.
Hi, Melinda. But I want to dig a little bit deeper into what the liability comes from, because... I've heard different numbers. There's every year in LA County, there's 170,000 referrals for abuse and neglect.
In LA counties, folks, so we need to be clear. This is only relative to Southern California, and within Southern California, only Los Angeles County, which is as big as the whole state of Rhode Island, but Okay.
So put that into perspective. 170,000 referrals. Those are coming from mandated reporters, LAPD police officers that come out to investigate domestic violence. So the department's got their hands full, to be fair.
Okay.
I mean, they've got a lot of shit coming at them.
Right, absolutely.
So out of these 170,000 referrals, they determine if there's negligence or if they could be negligent. So what negligence means from a legal standpoint is this. They have a duty to protect children. Okay, the government does.
Okay.
A parent has a United States constitutional right to raise their child as they see fit.
Well, we're supposed to.
We're supposed to.
That's right. That is our constitutional right. And government does not have a right to interfere with the ability for one to parent their child.
I disagree. So I
disagree with
those two components, the parent's right to parent without the government versus the government's duty to protect. That is the battle being fought every day at the children's court. Okay. And so when the government...
So what is it that you disagreed with?
I disagree that the government doesn't have a duty to protect children.
I said they don't have a right to interfere with the parent's ability to parent their child.
To parent their child, yes, but if there's abuse or neglect and the health, safety, or welfare of a minor is in
we
jeopardy,
count on them. We need them.
We need them.
We need them to protect children. Who's going to?
The government is supposed to, but what they're doing is the government's filter is so big.
Okay.
It's so constricted actually on this. But so out of all those referrals, the government has that $1.8 billion. And the reason I talked about it is they don't want to get sued.
Right.
So if they find out about your family from the LAPD for domestic violence, they have a duty to protect. And if they don't protect and something happens, they feel they could get sued.
Can they get sued?
I haven't worked on that end of the cases, but
they're kind of like fortune tellers. Then would that be fair to say? Like it's better to err on the side of safety and protect ourselves from any potential liability, even if liability has not yet shown itself.
Well, they don't want to get to the liability.
That's right.
It's like this: when somebody gets a DUI, they have to go to classes and to prove that they can have their license back.
Right.
As soon as any liability is triggered for the government, they want you to go to classes. Admit your sins to your government. Go to the classes. Give them a piece of paper that shows you did your classes, and you get your kids back.
Okay.
So when I'm talking about the big picture of the liability, I mean the government doesn't. The DCFS, they don't want to get to a breach of their duty. You know, they want to make parents go to classes so if something ever happens again, they can wipe their hands clean of the problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's really when I quoted Marcus Aurelius, I'm really saying that a lot of this system, kids are abused and neglected, and I've seen parents impregnate their children. I've seen kids, horrible things happen to children. But at the end of the day, we need our government in some respect. But what our government has turned into in LA County is they have just really taken families and children that do not belong in the system because
that's
they're
our problem.
So scared.
Our problem is not. We are grateful, and we recognize the fact that we need somebody to intervene that has the power to pluck that child and save that child, like Gabriel Fernandez. Right?
Not familiar with who that is.
Okay, so
there's a lot of Gabriel
all right,
Fernandez.
so this is a little boy who was tortured and killed to death in Palmdale.
Now I know who he is.
So we needed somebody to do that. Unfortunately, even though there were several social workers and sheriffs, by the way, they didn't do that.
Well, for every kid that Gabriel Fernandez that there's 100 other kids and maybe 1,000 other kids that don't belong in the system that are ripped from their parents.
Thank you. And that's my point. The point is, what we do is we're trying to change the system where, listen, you need to go in aggressively. You see some marks, the kid discloses something, you have good ER workers that go in that actually are trained and are not visiting some kid at 12 o'clock midnight and saying, hey, how you doing? Anybody hurt you here? And the kid's like rubbing his eyes saying, no. And who's this big giant man, this little girl, and there's allegations of sexual abuse, and it becomes a nightmare. And of course she's not going to disclose, and the asshole walks out of the room and walks out of the house and leaves this kid to fend for herself, and there's no resolve for her. And then you got these parents, like marijuana users who are licensed in the state of California, or a woman and a husband who gets into a fight, and they had a scuffle. The kids are upstairs in the room. They never heard mom and dad scuffle. People have fights sometimes, folks. Every social worker has a fight if they're married, and if they're not, they still have a fight. I don't care. Everybody argues sometimes. It doesn't make you a bad parent, and it doesn't, in my opinion, although my opinion doesn't matter because it's contradictory to what's happening, it does not give the government the reason to go in and steal somebody's children. Because if it was a balanced, logical, reasonable system, they would be focusing on the Gabriel Fernandez, and they would leave the other people alone and maybe do some monitoring.
A lot of people think they have solutions to fix the system, and they talk about specific fact patterns like you are of, why do they do this? How do I do this? Come on. But at the end of the day, we have the lowest legal standard to take for the government to take jurisdiction, I think, in the entire country. It's preponderance of the evidence. So by a preponderance of the evidence, meaning it's more likely than not true, 51%, there was domestic violence in the house because a kid said, I saw my dad push my mom.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
And domestic violence cases, I hope we can get into that, are probably the biggest trap that I'm seeing on a daily basis.
Exactly.
In court. And
it's a bad situation, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm with another organization, the International Violence, Abuse, and Trauma Summit that we do every year. And listen, a kid witnesses DV on a continuous basis. They're going to have PTSD. They're going to be screwed up. They're in trouble. So I'm not negating that fact. It's real. I'm not talking about those instances. I'm talking about these Mickey Mouse instances that lock and take a hostage into the system.
Do you know how long it takes for a dad who's found it true that he did DV to get back into his family home?
How long?
Based on what I see.
I mean, just the average.
I mean, once a domestic violence case happens,
and the department comes
in, and the LA Superior Court validates it and says that yes, it's true, domestic violence happened. That dad's ordered to do a 52-week domestic violence course.
But they don't do it. A lot of times they don't.
26 weeks. He's ordered to see a therapist. Okay. He's got a restraining order against him, maybe for a year. I always try to make him 6 months.
Good.
So I can get him in marriage counseling afterwards.
Because the husband and wife still want to get together. This was a scuffle.
Well, you
got
to get rid of the government's liability. When you're in reunification, meaning the classes to get your children back, what does the government need to see to give you your driver's license back? Just go with our DUI example.
Right.
They need to see marriage counseling because if you just do the classes and you haven't had the counseling and go back home and hit her again, they're going to get sued.
That's right.
They can't recommend that. They can't sign on the dotted line.
John, is he in this camera? He's right here.
Middle. Thank you, John. So
we want you to tell the audience about this because our listeners need to be educated. And they want to see your beautiful eyes, and you want to look at them, and they need to feel the one-on-one connection because they're lost. Okay, they've lost their children. They're breaking, and they don't know where the hell to go, and they're desperate, and they don't deserve to have their kids taken.
Listen, I walk into the children's court every single day. I got my briefcase. I walk in with my cup of coffee through the lobby, and I see those lost souls waiting to find out on their detention hearing, their first day, looking to see where they're about to get shuffled. And I know what you're going through, but what you got to understand is the first thing I said when I came on the show is, what is it all about? What are the numbers? 91%
Listen to this, folks.
91% of all cases, jurisdiction is taken, meaning the judge validates what the social worker has alleged.
Meaning the court just won.
Basically, the social worker won, and the court said the social worker was right with what they filed. 91%,
folks, in the county of Los Angeles. I mean, I have a better shot, honestly, of winning a freaking lottery ticket. Something has to change.
So people get mad. People come in and they get mad at our nonprofit, where we represent 300 clients a day, and we're trying our best to help everybody. And they get mad. They didn't fight for me. They got me a deal. Well, 91% of the time, almost you're losing. And we fight those battles still every day. But where you win and get your kids back is in reunification. The first step is to admit your sins to your government.
What if they don't want to? What if they say, listen, The social worker came in. This is bogus. I wasn't doing anything. I got to, whatever the situation. I wasn't doing anything. I've got my ex who's calling me. He's making these false allegations, whatever.
Have you ever seen the
What
movie?
do they do?
Have you ever seen the movie True Romance? With
I'm sure.
Christian Slater.
Yes, of course I have.
tell him.
I like him.
I tell my
appreciate
clients, I quote Tom Sizemore. I say, "You're an actor. You act." I'm not gonna say the expletive, but I was like, it doesn't matter. These social workers are hawks. Okay, they're not. They look in certain places, but they're not. If you tell them the magic words that you screwed up, admit your sins to your government, show them the piece of paper so they can absolve you of the liability, you will get your kids back. But if you're stubborn and say I didn't do anything wrong and fight these people, they're going to win. They win 91% of the time up front. What do you think is going to happen in the end?
Folks, so you have to weigh it out. You either want to hold your pride, and it sucks to say this. I hate to say this because I'm not somebody who submits at all, unless I'm guilty. But I'm not going up and saying I did something that I didn't do. However, when it comes to you having your children or some stranger, and as we know, and we have cited this, 1,000 registered sex offenders became approved by the DCFS system in Los Angeles and got people's children. Keep your children. Just say yes. Yes them to death.
Well, there's a certain times that you don't admit your sins to your government.
Let's hear.
And those are sexual abuse cases, which is a whole nother cup of tea.
What if you did it?
Not everybody did it. There's a lot of out of control teenagers, and kids sometimes say things, but a lot of times DCFS in sex abuse cases wants to see the parent go to the sexual abuse perpetrators classes and admit that they did it before they can absolve them of liability.
Okay.
And so in those cases, it's you face criminal persecution, and those are very hard cases for me to be a part of, because you want to help these people. You want to help your client.
Well, you have a duty to help your client.
But I also have to. You
have to sleep at night.
I have to keep them out of prison as well. But the formula doesn't work in every case. If
they're guilty, just pass them along to me. Just joking. Not really. Okay, so let's see. The caseload. Last year, DCFS did a protest, as you folks know. I went to the protest. There were 5,000 workers. It was a last-minute thing. I mean, somebody called me and said, hey, can you come down here? I'm feeling a little nervous. It was 2 women by themselves. I said, I'm in the car. I'm on my way. Okay? I went down there with 1 woman. There was 4 of us. There was 5,000 social workers. I got assaulted for doing nothing. And guess what? It was all on video. I still haven't decided if I'm going to sue the department. I'm hopeful that the department will shape up and get their stuff together, because they need to, because there are a lot of abused kids that need them. But the big thing was they were fighting for more social workers because they didn't have enough, and they had 35 to 50 caseloads, and they were only supposed to have 15. That's what they opted in for, and here they were. And I didn't even talk. I didn't have to. I had a dress on, just held a sign that said, good work, safe children, you deserve a raise. Children dying, 570 children within an 18-month period that you didn't even report were dead until it got leaked out. No raise. That's it.
Well,
caseloads. I want to talk about caseloads.
Caseloads aren't going anywhere. Okay.
What is going on? How many cases I'm sorry to interrupt, but in a courtroom, you work at the court, you're at Dependency Court, Edelman, folks. Okay. Cases that you handle or that you see within a particular courtroom in a day. Let's talk about that.
Well, I've been keeping tabs lately. I'm anywhere from like 9 to 15 cases a day. As a department, I represent the west side of LA, west side. We did
Kyle's very cool.
We did 99 cases as a department in the month of October. So that means about like 4 or 5 trials a day. And on top of review hearings, so it is a mess, and it's not going anywhere. And I can tell you why I don't think it's going anywhere. And it's nothing that you're gonna solve by going to the board of supervisors. Okay, so just fucking forget about it. You're not gonna do anything there. the reason that it is what it is what our society has become.
Okay.
We have mandated reporters. Mandated reporting became, I think, a state statute in 1983, sometime in the 80s. And right now, LAPD, they have like procedures. Anytime a kid's involved, they call social workers. And so teachers, if a kid blows his nose wrong or has scrapes on his knees, we're getting referrals. And then guess what? These people aren't perfect. These social workers who are hawks, who are looking for liability, who think they're protecting children, write up some bullshit, and then we end up
there's
up
the
in
kid.
court. Now there's the caseload. So how are we going to get rid of caseloads? You got to absolve the Department of Liability, get rid of mandated reporting, things that society's not ready to do. Give us jury trials. Get rid of bench officers who are scared to make decisions, who want to see what happens on the back end. Because no bench officer in children's courts want blood on their hands.
This is
It's
true.
it's a very tough job for the judges. I have nothing but respect for them, But I mean,
I have respect for many.
the way
Not
that
all.
many is a good point.
Yes.
But the way the social workers draft these reports, I mean, they're drafted as Melinda said. They all make a decision as one, and all
Let's talk about that.
I mean, I'm in the John the other day talking to a social worker, and I was like, "What's the worst part of your job?" He's like, "My supervisor. I can't make a decision. I have no discretion." The social workers can't do anything. They have
can't
no
do
discretion.
anything.
They can't do their job.
The
Because
next time you're in the John, I want you to have my business card in your back pocket, okay? Because there's no more comforting place than in the John that you just hand it over and say, here you go, dude. Call her. She wants to help. She won't reveal your name. She wants the inside scoop because the intention is to weed out all the bullshit people and keep the Melindas, okay? Because, I mean, I have some friends that are social workers that they're awesome, okay? They really care. And then I know some social workers that would just assume take a child by their hair and put them in a freaking street. And that's real.
Well, and they do that, and then we also have county councils sometimes that are overzealous and call out to the field because they're in court and something doesn't add up right. And then, they try to take kids away in court for like the most absurd reasons. And if you've ever seen a kid ripped out of his parents' hands, I got to tell you this story. I don't want to talk about war stories all
Wait a minute,
day.
before you start this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I know it's going to make me in a whole different mode. My cheeriness is going to 300 clients.
I have about 285 to 300. It fluctuates.
A month.
No, and
At any given moment, at any given time. Today.
Today, probably 285.
9 to 13 caseloads a day. Your courtroom that you're working in. Tell me about, did it lead? Did it not lead?
What do you mean by lead?
Did it lead the building? I'm reading right now. In October 2014, it was a leader of 99 trials.
That means that we,
you led out of all the courtrooms.
That means we were efficient. We settled many cases. We adjudicated cases. That means there's a statutory rule that once your kids are detained from you or in foster care, a trial has to occur within 60 days. And so the judges,
folks,
if their numbers are bad, if their numbers aren't if their trials are going over a year, which they used to a few years ago, but they've really tightened it up. So we just got told that we did 99 trials in a month, and I was like, holy crap! I was like, that's insane.
You don't even know.
I don't even because
the wheels are just going so fast. You're constantly going and moving. You don't have time to sit and really reflect and look.
No, I just got to get to the point. It's like the movie Private Ryan. Like I'm the medic on D-Day. It's like this guy's a priority. I got to get rid of this guy. This guy's fucked. Get to the next guy, and it's really sad, but it's just what the battle is because it's these people's family. Like next to your own life, your kid's life is more important. And when some social worker takes your kid away and you see him ripped out of your arms and you're ordered to go do classes and you're poor. You got nothing, and I'm all that stands. I'm the only help these people have in my nonprofit, and my nonprofit is the most ethical, hardworking people. I have nothing but respect for all of us, and we're all underpaid, and we all work so hard for these people, and we just get beat up by the judges, by the kids' attorneys, by everybody except for the bailiffs and the court reporters, and the court officers.
Now I'm gonna get serious. So I had my silly fun time, which I don't have a lot in this show. So this is bullshit. We all know it. It has to change. So out of these cases, 99 trials, 9 out of 10 times, that 91% comes in, those kids are there to stay.
They're hooked in the system.
They're hooked in the system.
They're either with their mom, with their dad. They're like shipped up to Bakersfield, or they're living in Palmdale or Lancaster. And like when you're poor and you're from Compton and your kid's in Lancaster, try getting on the metro and getting to Palmdale. Try getting to Moreno Valley to visit your kid. These people can't see their kids. They're frustrated. Their social workers talk down to them. Like the people that are successful in the system are the educated people, the people from the West Side that can like talk to their social worker. Like you got to play your social worker. There's a rap song about it. I don't know what the name of it is.
Oh, we need that rap song.
But you got to like literally play your social worker and like say all positive things. Like it's like a sports interview when you're with your social worker. Like say 5 positive things before you say anything negative. Because that's what they need to hear. That's what you got to do to get your kids back.
This is true. And
I can't be there holding your hand. You know, the cases I'm successful with in reunification are the cases where the parents have good relationships with the social worker, where I don't got to go in and flex my muscles and file a motion every day because guess what? We got 30 cases on.
Yeah.
Do you think the judge wants to see a walk-on motion for visitation?
That's right.
Do you think they want to see a 388 motion? It clogs up the calendar. Like, we're not getting DCFS to liberalize visits. You know, it's on the parents to get along with the social worker, and sometimes that's impossible. It's like what we call it social engineering of families.
Social engineering of families. Wow.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because
that is what it is.
You got relatives that are getting like paid like fat to like be with these kids, to like watch these kids.
Is it financially incentivized?
Yes.
It's a financially incentivized program.
Well, and Jerry Brown just passed there was a bill. I don't know. Jerry Brown had something to do with that. I gotta blame him for something.
I blame him still for SB 131.
But I mean, there was just money set aside to give more money to relative caretakers. What does that do? That caretaker's getting a check. I mean, if you're poor living in Compton and you're getting $1,000 a month to watch like your grandkid, you're gonna hate on your daughter that's 18 years old, like.
That money is supporting
that maybe
you.
got into meth. Yeah,
that's right.
That's bottom line. That's bottom line money.
So I know somebody who is of Native descent. Her kids got taken. They're living with the drug addict. They come and see her, or she has visitations wherever that may be that they visit. And she's just like, how can they keep my kids? Like, they stole my kids, and the kids have been away from her for a while. But the people that they're living with, they're meth addicts.
They don't like.
What do we do for that? Can we go undercover? Can we take pictures? What can we do? Like, if you had the perfect scenario, in other words, if I said, here's a blank page, okay, and Kyle, here's the situation. Nope, do that again because now your hair's sticking up. Okay, good. Wait, I didn't hear up, and I will tell you, and please you tell me.
I'm gonna cut you off.
So
you're
making
ahead. Me like the Obama of child dependency court.
No. I'm just saying, ruler. As an attorney, like if you could say, oh, I wish I had this is a scenario I'd love to have and try. Given a parent lost their kids and wants their kids back, I need to take a sip. Lost their kids, wants them back. The kids are living with meth addicts. And the parent comes to you. You're the attorney,
Well, I wouldn't trust that with DCFS. If the kids are in a bad situation with a relative that they're placed with, I wouldn't trust DCFS. CASA is a very great program. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. Of course. But we would need something like CASA that would provide checks and balances to the social worker. It's kind of like, I would almost be like our immigration code. You have ICE and Department of Homeland Security, and those two agencies work against each other.
That's right.
Like DCFS has a monopoly. Like if I was given the power to fix that for relatives, I would create a checks and balances, an organization that didn't have liability that could check into DCFS.
Right.
But that's not going to happen.
Right.
I mean, it's totally not going to happen.
So our thing is, we just want to put it out in the public. We want to get media involved. We want it on Fox. Martin, we love you and miss you. We want it on Fox. We want it on CBS. Jeff covers this stuff. We want it on ABC. rutabaga. We want it out there because this is the way that we'll do our own checks and balances.
But the problem is this, is when you talk about the media and you talk about society, when I tell people what I do, they're like, how can you represent the scum of the earth? And they're like,
they don't understand because
they don't understand. So the media, when all these dreamers, all you dreamers out there that are going to the board of supervisors meetings, like at the end of the day, like the media and all these other places, they just want to talk about the common thing, like, hey, how do we protect kids? Like, this is wrong. These parents are scumbags. They don't get down to the root of the problem.
Okay.
When I came on your show, like I came on your show to tell you the root. The society as a whole is never going to get to the root of this problem.
How do I reach these kids?
There you go.
How do I reach these kids?
Yes.
How do I reach these kids? How do I reach these kids?
Dynamite dropping.
Yes.
Mike, that broadcasting skill
Yeah,
is really paying off.
John. Hi, caller, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. This is Dr. Susan Evans calling in. I'm glad to hear you guys have this topic, and I'm listening to your conversation. And of course, I have a situation myself, but I want to know, how does the society get to the root of the problem? I heard your comments, and I want to know, how do you get to the root of the problem?
Seriously, out of everything of literature, once we get to this point, it's never going to recede, okay? As a society, because we're so common in our thoughts, like when people ask me, how can I do what I do? We're never going to fix this problem. I don't see how it would happen. I mean, you would have to, our legislatures that write the laws.
That's what we need.
The power of the power is in the pen.
Yes.
The people that write the front of the check, okay, like the DCFS supervisors, it's not in the front of the check.
We're going to talk about that.
Our legislatures would have to really change the system. And who wants to change a system when you could have a kid die? Even though 1,000 might be with their parents and you might put services in place to keep these families together, but that one kid that dies, that's like really bad. It's like what happened to George Bush Sr. or during the Michael Dukakis campaign. They had that one guy that like killed somebody, and it just, that common things like that are children are the bane of the legal society, meaning that our legislatures write completely screwed up laws about children, and they twist and bend our constitutional rights because it's children, because nobody wants a kid's blood on their hands.
I feel that, and the research that we've done is that children make more money for this government than, and this is actually proven just as much as Kyle's 91%, than the illegal arms trade and drug trade combined. For the trafficking of children, you can sell a child 75 times over in a day. And just to let you folks know, and this is real and proven and caught, a lot of children that are in the system, these disappeared children, actually they're trafficked. They're never reported as being missing. Nobody knows. The parents think they're in the system. I mean, it's a real screwed up. They just had a bust last year in Orange County. 65 out of 101 of those children were in the system. None of them were reported.
Well, I really can't.
No, it's an atrocity, and I didn't mean to throw that your way. It pisses me off when I see that, because we've got 800,000 children and people and being trafficked in the United States. This is not a third world country.
Well, the thing with human trafficking, and I'm here to defend the absurd. I'm here to defend human trafficking. The government, police agencies, it is a hot topic. I'm going to conferences in Cal State LA and all over.
Why do you think it's a hot topic?
Well,
let me ask you that. We didn't plan this, but
because right now the government is, police agencies, they can't have kids in the sex trade. It got blown up. So now they're getting funding, creating pilot programs where the government's getting more money to prosecute this. And I've seen a couple of human traffic cases as recently that it just seems like an overzealous cop.
Yeah, well,
and it's overzealous social worker.
It is in my opinion, and we all have one. My opinion is it is an area that it's something that's been going on for a while. Actually, we had an intelligence agent come on who was busting these people, okay, and nothing was happening. I mean, they were getting slapped on the wrist, and I'm talking about real rings. And the bottom line is financial incentives. And the reason why we're seeing it as a hot topic now is because there's been so much chatter about children and child abuse that out of this whole funnel, they have to pick something, and that's the easiest because it seems to be the ugliest, and nobody really has to, like, be accountable for that. That's just the bad guys, whoever they are. And that can be a discussion that they talk about. We can't sit and talk about child sexual abuse because it's like, oh, my stomach hurts. I'm like, come on.
Well, yeah, it's an awful thing. But pardon me to interrupt because, I think sex trafficking is horrible and I care for the kids and it's a terrible aspect of it. But with this great attorney that's here to defend those that need it, I'm in a situation, and I'd like to know from a practical standpoint, we can't change all of legislature. It's horrible what happens to kids, but how can a mother who's been unjustly or denied due process of law and had her children taken from her and has no recourse, what can we do to fight the system to get justice, to get our children back?
Well, in what respect, though? You have to be more specific. I mean, what can we do to fight?
I think
okay,
Dr. Evans, I think I know what you're saying. Like, it goes to what we said in the earlier part of the program.
Okay.
It's just like, admit your sins to your government, swallow your pride, go to their classes. It's like you got a DUI when you come to this court. Okay, you get a DUI, you lose your license to drive. You're losing your license to parent. To get that license back, you admit what you did was wrong. You go to their classes, you show them the certificates, and you have a good attitude. And on the front end, you probably lost on the front end, and we have statutory timetables because kids can't be in foster care forever. So there's numbers that DCFS has, like, the median time that a kid is in foster care is 9.4 months before they're returned to their parent.
So, in other words, if they go into a system, would it be fair to say that for the next 9 months, they're in that system?
They're in foster care. Yes.
The next 9 months.
No matter what.
No,
and whether
no
it's
matter
true
what.
or not, you should just do what they recommend.
I've gotten kids back in 3 months. I've gotten, but like,
that's rare.
If a kid goes in foster care, it's 9.4 months. The DV dad, it's going to take him about a year to 14 months before he gets back in his home, and he's paying double rent. So once you lose on the statutory and you've been TPR'd, termination of parental rights, or your kids are in a permanent home with a legal guardianship, you're pretty much done. I mean, because nobody wants to mess with the funding and the stability, and you've lost all your credibility in that court. And I mean, you can call some big shot civil attorney about suing him, but like at the end of the day, I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. Like, it better be a very good case for a civil attorney to touch. So you pretty much.
Dr. Susan's case. I want to speed ahead, Dr. Susan, because I don't want to take up. We have a lot more to cover. Her case, and she's been on the show, and thank you for calling. The judge dismissed, Judge Vasquez, she has 4 children, 3 of them with prejudice. Do you get a lot of cases like that?
Dismissed 3 of the allegations of prejudice?
Yes, with prejudice. He said, with prejudice, this is...
It was one petition, and he dismissed the whole petition with prejudice. He didn't take jurisdiction. And then he actually dismissed the other one too, but that one was without prejudice. But it was essentially dismissed. It wasn't worthy of a trial.
Right, but it was 3 of the children dismissed with prejudice.
Well,
am I correct?
That means
That's
you're
correct.
That means you're in the 9%.
The 9% of what?
Of the win.
Of a win.
Of a win. Yeah, but listen. She never even had a dispo hearing. I mean, no, they just kept it and continued it for how many months, Susan?
Well, it's been 7 months now. They did dismiss it, and they sent it back to family court.
Yeah, but how many months were you actually in the dependency court arena?
Right, before it was dismissed.
Right.
That would be also 7 months.
7 months. She never had a hearing.
That's normal when you got a pain. Yeah. That's normal if you have a pain in the ass case. Like, like what your case sounds like.
Yes.
So you're out of the system,
Except for one. They held on to one.
Yeah, that sometimes they split the baby. Like That's what I call it. It's like
Solomon's
one kid is the target kid, or one kid creates a problem, and so 3 kids will go home, and then you've got one kid in the system, and you're like, hey, 3 kids are home. It's been 9 months. Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like, send this kid home.
She didn't get any of her kids. She hasn't had any of her kids for a long time. The husband got them.
Well, if you're in family, I'm not going to give you legal advice, but if you're in family law court, the standard is 302D of the Welfare and Institutions Code. So if you want to change a juvenile law custody order, you have to show a significant change in circumstances in the best interest of the child. The family law court judges are a little bit like, they kind of don't understand our building. Like,
she won't hear anything. The problem with Susan's case is the family law judge, the Honorable Tamara Hall. I can't say that because I'm not an attorney. So she won't hear the case because she said there's an appeal going on, there's a stay, I don't know what's going on, and she has said in the record, I'm not going to lose my job, I'm not going to hear anything.
Yeah, I spent 2 years on Hill Street before I went to Edelman's
You did?
Court. Yeah, I was 2
did.
years.
Okay,
So do you know
great.
Hall?
I don't know Hall. I haven't been in.
She's new. She's new, so
she
you probably
has-
wouldn't.
I tried my first cases on Hill Street, move
All
away
right.
cases. So I'm
Hill Street Blues.
I know
Okay.
I know family law. My theory on Hill Street is they like to kick the can. They don't like to make a decision. They want you to settle your case, and if you have a pending appeal, they're not going to want to touch your case.
She didn't appeal. The department did because the department is pissed off that the judge dismissed it.
Well, I don't.
Ever hear anything like that? I never have.
No, because we don't. If a case is pending in the appeals and in dependency, we don't care. And for a judge to say that, a dependency judge
doesn't make
would be
sense.
like, I don't care that your case is an appeal.
Right.
I need to make a decision
Right.
about the best
What's
interest
in
of
the
this
front
child
of me.
today.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
Because
Exactly. If they have a fiduciary
Yeah. Oh, no, this is
responsibility,
such a
duty
screwed
to
up-
do that.
If you were on your own, I would be bringing you into this case because, you'd be ramped up about this case. This is like... Hi, we have another caller. Susan, hold on and don't hang up,
Okay.
honey. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great show. Okay, I have
Thank
a
you.
question that might be a little bit off topic, and sorry.
Ask your
but
question.
my question
first off, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, wow. He's hired. Okay.
I am anonymous because I have an ongoing
That's why I don't
custody
ask
case.
anymore
Oh,
because a lot of people,
That's totally cool. Just what part of LA? I mean, just give us a shout out where you're from.
Well,
All right.
sure. I'm in
West
Fernando
side,
Valley.
south side, east side, north.
Yeah, I guess west.
Okay.
West side. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
I'll just say
All right.
west side so that
Okay.
you like me.
Yeah, there you go. Come on.
All right. You're
There
in.
you go. So, yeah, I'm learning. Yes, no. Okay.
There
so,
you go. You're teaching them. Okay, go
The
ahead.
problem specifically that I'm calling concerning is, I guess, a situation that happens continuously, not in dependency court, but rather in divorce court, family court.
Okay. What's the
Allegations
question?
of child abuse
Okay.
in some manner, whether it's the child disclosing or one of the parents. The
Child
parents being
abuse.
divorced,
What kind of
no
abuse?
longer together.
All right. What kind of child abuse are we speaking of?
Physical,
Or sexual?
sexual.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Okay. On Hill. Okay. I think I understand what you're saying, and so and I don't mean to cut you off, but so it sounds like you have a family law case, and there's a physical abuse issue in that case. Is that correct?
There was at one point.
Okay. Well, my experience in family law court, and I'm not answering anything specific about your
Right.
case.
Of course.
Is physical abuse. They unless it's DCFS worthy, then it's just parents posturing for custody orders, and
Right.
and it's pretty much going to fall on deaf ears. They're working
Actually, yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying, and that's what is something that I've witnessed over the course
What
of
is it?
years.
What is
not
your
just with
question
myself,
now?
but with many others.
Right.
But my question is specifically, do you have knowledge of cases that are being investigated by DCFS social workers that are maybe moved aside and not investigated properly because of that conception that the abuse must be being brought up due to maybe one parent wanting to retain custody or to get custody.
We don't. It's hard to understand what your question.
I totally understand what she's saying.
You totally understand. I don't,
totally
and I'm
got it.
sorry. Forgive me.
I'm going to regurgitate what you just said, and then so everybody understands.
Thank you.
So you're saying if the social worker feels that one parent is posturing for more custody during an investigation and physical abuse is disclosed, are they more likely to leave it in family law court? Is that correct?
You got it. Thank you.
Wow.
I would say
that was great.
I would say it depends, because I have some cases in dependency court, like if they call cases family law cases, like county council, they'll be like, oh shit, we got a family law case. It's just like, I'm just like, give me some more of this, because I love family law.
Oh,
but they will no. I mean, if the magic words are said from the kid, yeah, my dad slapped me, and the mom coached or confirmed, they will take the case. They will not think twice. I mean, but I don't know about their they have 160,000 investigations. I'm dealing with, 10 to 15 cases a day for about 3.5 years. So in my experience, like, they're not just going to kick a case because they feel it's parent posturing. They'll bring it there, and then they'll file an emotional abuse count or some bullshit like that.
Okay.
That's my, I hope that I answered your question.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
In a way, yes. Yes, you did.
Okay, so
there are.
Go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
Well,
we have other
I
callers. I
had that experience happen to me. This is Dr. Susan come in, and from what I've been able to see, just like as the attorney mentioned, when you mention it's physical abuse, and if the child reports that and it's not deemed DCFS worthy, then it's going to do nothing but hurt your situation in family court. Isn't that correct?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, because when I'm in family law court, like when I was in family law court, I'd have pictures of like the kids hanging out with somebody who has a meth pipe on their Facebook, or saying that, hey, my Johnny said he got hit by a belt, and the family law court judge didn't do anything about it. He just said. So I mean, I just when I
say it hurt your case, for instance, in my case, it might have been unique because my ex is affiliated with DCFS. So no matter what happened, documented medical problems, needing surgery, injuries, concussion, they always said it was unfounded, no matter what it was. So what it became is if the children were making up something, or they put the onus on me that I made them do it, and they use that as a reason to take the children.
Okay.
They got a lot of tools and reasons to take kids.
That kind of brings me to the more specifics, is the reason why the reason why it can be harmful to children that are really being abused if it's not being investigated properly, because they get that red flag. One of the questions that they're going to ask is there an ongoing custody case, or was there ever a family law case, filed or whatnot? And in my opinion, that should not be a concern if a child is saying, I got slapped, or a child is saying, whatever the situation is, I didn't get fed, I was kept in a closet,
whatever it was.
Couldn't disagree.
Right, whatever type of disclosure. But the problem that I've seen, specifically in my own case, and I've seen many others, is that if the social worker is investigating and they deem it as unfounded, there exists a penal code within our California state legislature that actually not only, I don't want to say tarnishes the parent, but it actually removes all custody from the parent. I can recite that penal code for you if you'd like.
Okay. There's a couple penal codes, like 3044, the family law code is for domestic violence. We apply that if you make a false sexual abuse allegation, if you're coaching. But what you're saying, I couldn't disagree more. Like, they should be asking if there's family law cases, because then they can look for coaching, because coaching is very real and alienation is very real, and it's very hard to catch. And so if the kid doesn't have marks or bruises, or you don't have a smoking gun, then they need to be doing their research and their diligence like that. And so I would commend that social worker for making those follow-up questions and seeing if it was false. So
Well,
I'm sorry to disagree with you.
I can just say from a medical standpoint, though, if they do have those marks and those bruises, and you're discrediting it because of the fact that the parents are in custody, it's such a hardship to the child. It leaves them at such great risk, and it's really an injustice.
I agree. I agree. I mean,
that's
listen,
what's happened.
Okay, so we have about we're running out of time, ladies. Okay, we have a couple of things that are really important that we need to discuss. Number one, the social worker doesn't facilitate visitations.
No.
Talk to me. What's changed? What's happening? The parents can't see the kids. What do they do?
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
It's an everyday battle. I'm getting like 5 calls a day, like emails. Hey, I need the social worker. What happens once a kid is detained? A social worker has to set up a visitation schedule.
Okay.
What happens is they don't. They need to get people to live scan, so there's no liability. So they're not child molesters, so they did their diligence. And so they got to get them in, and then they got to approve them. And sometimes it takes months. And then if they don't like a person, they'll never approve a monitor. If that person fights them, like the people that go to the Board of Supervisors meeting, then those people will never get approved monitors. And then they'll be at the DCFS office for an hour, or there'll be canceled visits, or they'll delegate it to foster parents that live in Moreno Valley, and the parents like live in like Long Beach.
Hours away.
And then it's like, how the hell do I get to Moreno Valley when I'm broke? I have no money.
I have
and
no
they won't
transportation.
pay. No transportation.
Yeah.
And then they hold it against you that you haven't seen your kids.
Exactly. Always hold it against you.
And so the visitation issues are like the judges are trying to put pressure on the social workers right now.
Okay.
They're trying to say, give me a written visitation schedule in the next court report.
Okay.
What is the visitation schedule? I want to know. They still don't do it.
They're pushing.
Isn't that a violation, though? I want to ask of constitutional rights of the parents, their parental rights to be with.
Is it
their
a violation of a parent's constitutional rights to see the children?
Well, I'm
Do you
not
have an answer for that?
I'm not a civil rights lawyer.
Okay.
So I couldn't answer
I'm
that
not
question.
a civil rights lawyer either. Yes, it is a constitutional violation.
Well, the biggest part of reunification is visitation.
Yeah.
So when if a judge wants to terminate reunifications, they have to find that you visited consistently and participated in the programs. And so, when I look at a social worker's report, the first place I go is visitation. I see, how are the visits going? Who's monitoring the visits? What's good? What's bad? How's little Johnny feel about his mommy? Are they in therapy?
That's right.
Because that's my most effective persuasive tool.
Kyle, you represent parents. Can parents come to you like tomorrow, or not tomorrow, it's Saturday, and thank God for Saturdays, Monday. Can they have the ability to come to you and say, Kyle, I saw you on the show. Man, I'm in a situation and I need your help. Or do they have to go through the system, or how do they get to you?
I'm a public servant, so I can't take
You're
calls
screwed right now.
during work. Yeah, I'm not.
Can they email you?
If somebody wants to email me,
Okay.
not about just about general
Just
stuff,
general
about fixing the system.
Fixing the system.
And I'm not at work.
And he's not at work. And he's not at work.
Then I will
All right,
probably answer.
He may or may not answer. He's not making any promises. Kyle, K, let's give your email.
Oh, KRPURO, KRPuro@gmail.com.
KRPURO@gmail.com. Okay, we're going to put that.
I got to give a shout out to some of
we
the
got some
homies.
shout outs.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to DC.
Yeah, DC.
My girl in Long Beach.
Yeah, his girl. She is waiting and watching and excited.
My family in Seal Beach.
His family in Seal Beach.
My mom in Davison, Michigan, and my boys in Davison, Michigan.
Oh, that's sweet. I need to give
thank you guys so much. I guess I'll sign off now, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for the information.
Thank you, Susan.
And I appreciate anybody that's helping to fight for kids and their rights. I think that's what it's all about.
Put your email right here. For the other caller, hello, are you still on with us, I hope? No, she hung up. Okay.
We had some other questions we needed to get through.
Yeah,
but
we have a couple, but we're running out of time. I want you to tell the story. I want to do a shout out for Michael Kinslow. John, I don't know, do you remember attorney Michael Kinslow? We were fighting for the SB 131. He came in. Michael, I adore you, dear man and friend, and confidant. We have been friends, and Michael got diagnosed with cancer, and I'm giving a shout out to him because I just love him to pieces, and his wife Georgie, and his children, and I'm sending out so much positive energy, and to my dad and mom that I love so much, and thank God that the system wasn't around to snatch me, because they probably would have, because you're far from perfect, just like me, just like Kyle or John or anybody else. We're not perfect. God's perfect. The universe is perfect. And so I want you to tell us a story about your story that you wanted to make sure that this is an important story to end. Is that okay? Okay.
All right. So a few years ago, I'm working Metro North Beat for Ladle, and I have a case, and I have a stepfather who physically abused a child. That child was 17. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and the social worker did not want that kid to see his stepfather. He was on his deathbed. He's like, let me see my stepdad. I want to talk to him and have peace with him. And the social worker, the supervisor, who looked like the lady on Uncle Buck, the principal with the big mole, she would not let him see that kid. And we were in court 4 times fighting her. And I saw this lady, and I've never been so disgusted in my life. And those are the people controlling where your kids go. Those are the supervisors. So,
the kid was dying
of cancer, and she did not want him to see.
He wanted to see his stepfather.
But there was an order for no visitation from the court because he was 17 and he was pissed off at his stepdad.
17 years old?
Yes.
Did he die?
I don't know. I ran into his mom at the Staples Center about a year ago, and he was still going.
He was still going.
Yeah.
The system, after he's 18, the system can't control that anymore.
But this woman did not want this kid to see his stepfather because it violated court orders, and she was that much of a gatekeeper, and her heart was so black. And those are the people that you're dealing with. And so when you deal with people like that, you got to make sure that you're business and you're not like bringing this emotional crap. And you should be emotional, but like you have to, this is business. And when you go into these court system, you act like a business person. You don't act like the emotional person that you are. When you're with the government, you're on stage.
Yeah, that's for sure. Folks, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Kyle, we have to have you back.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. We've like made a complete connection with Kyle. We're gonna pull him into our team. And wait a minute, we're not off yet. We're still on and listening. But you can take those off. That's for us listening to the folks. Okay, we're putting up for all of you listeners. Here is Kyle's email address. Don't ask him for legal advice. He was hesitant to give his email address, and I promised him inexplicitly that you folks would not ask him for legal advice because he can't give it to you. But perhaps he can assist you in navigating through some just very generic situations, and that's helpful. And, you can't ask for more than that. Don't hound him. Don't stalk him, please. If his girlfriend she's like karate, and
if you're gonna hire a private attorney though, like you really need to be careful. And I told you we wanted to talk about that because I have 300 cases. I can't hold your hand. I can't carry all of your baggage. And so private attorneys though are met with a bit of skepticism by the bench because some of them don't know what they're doing. And so when you hire a private attorney, you better make sure that he has experience, that he maybe was a public defender, and that he's there every day and has the respect of his colleagues. You don't want to hire some quack off the street.
Los Angeles, when attorneys from outside come into L.A., Edelman.
It depends on if they got swag. If they got swag and they know the business, they know how to talk the talk, walk the walk, and walk in, I'm cool with it. But like, when I refer clients that have criminal problems, they always hire old public defenders or guys that are in front of that judge dealing with the D every day. You need somebody that can grease the wheel. You need somebody that knows these people, that drinks coffee with them, that I park my car in the same garage as these people, as much as it disgusts me. But, you've got to...
I'm going to park my car once a week in the same garage. I'm going to go meet Kyle for lunch. I'm going to pay for the lunch because I'm going to do my swag in the courtroom and make some friends. And I don't mind greasing wheel. I'll buy a freaking truck or grease if I have to. I don't care.
You got to be able, if you're a private attorney experience, the first thing the judge is going to do is ask that attorney if he has experience in dependency. Right. And so that attorney is starting his hearing on his heels. And when I start a hearing, I want to start on my toes, poking holes in there and having a theory of defense. And a lot of private attorneys are not, I always help them out, where most of the people in the courthouse are very skeptical of private attorneys. And through me just being gregarious in my natural self, I've met some of the top attorneys in L.A. that have no business in the building, unfortunately.
Legislative action that would be the most effective would be in like 30 seconds.
Jury trials up the standard of proof, but jury trials would be the only way to save the system. I would rather have 12 people from Rampart District deciding my client's faith from El Salvador than a judge from the West Side.
Wow. I mean, folks, that makes perfect sense. UBN Radio. Kyle, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Yes.
What a great
we need one more of the little guy. One more. Kyle has given us this. We're keeping him. Cartman.
How do I reach these kids? How do
got
I
it.
reach these kids?
He's James.
Thank you for listening
Thank
to
you.
the National Safe Child Show on
Thank you,
UBN
folks.
Radio.
Thank you for joining
For past
us. We love
episodes,
you,
visit the
UBN.
archives on
Thank
ubnradio.com.
you.
And for more information, go to nationalsafechildcoalition.com. The views and opinions expressed in these radio programs are those of the individual hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of Universal Broadcasting Network.